All right. Hello, everybody. This is Small Caps Trading Podcast, episode 3. Anything you hear on this podcast is not a financial advice. We are just discussing our own ideas. As far as this week and the schedule of this podcast is going to be, we're going to dive into market cycles, what happened today, not today, this week, and we're gonna do a separate videos of different trade recaps on different categories. We're gonna try to change the structure a little bit. Instead of one long video, we're gonna try to really deep dive into different section, different videos. But yeah, Mo, do you wanna take a lead here on a market cycle?
Sure. So just one note, we're going to do, Molly, you call it trade recaps, but I think it's more like, the um, um, move recaps, broken down into categories. Some we traded, some we didn't.
Oh yeah,
But
we didn't trade off. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, let's hop into the market cycle. Anyway, so I thought I'd start with the usual flash research. Let's look at some dry data, and then we're going to hop and look at it from a totally different perspective with much more color. Um, and so let's do it that way. So let me try it and let's see. I'm going to share with you. So um, let me see. So as you can see, the way I have it here is, I'm looking at anything that had to have gapped at least 40%, and I realized that leaves off 35 percent, 30% or plus, and people do trade those, but I'm just casting a specific net. So for at least 40% at some point or more, at least 3 million in volume, and at least 20 cents, because I'll trade 40, 50, 60 cent stocks, no problem, as well as higher. um Obviously, ideally higher, but those penny ones are good anyway. So that's the filters, and you can see that um the dollar volume, sort of a second week that it's up at higher values. And what that mostly is the algos that we've been seeing. So those algos have been uh, um driving. It's been like really big candles, right? Like 2 million candles, 2.5 million candles, tons of 1 million candles, 3 million candles on $2 stock, $3 stock, $4 stock, and all that washing machine to build these patterns, paint whatever they're painting. So they're putting dollars to work. And so you're seeing that in the last 2 weeks, and I think we all know a lot of the names of the algos of the last 2 weeks. We'll go through them, but generally speaking, as far as the amount of gappers going, we're technically, you can say we're upticking this week versus last week, but it's low, and the volume is on average low, but the algos are at work. So I think that's sort of been a big part of the theme. And the way that I wanted to shine another light on it is, let me go ahead and stop sharing this, and let me share something else instead. And it will be this right here. Okay. So, you know, this is, sort of crudely done. Don't think too much of it, and ignore these guys on the side for now. But you can see sort of the main categories of movers that we've seen this week. We got the day ones, um, sort of a busy, the busiest of the categories. We had a couple of S1s, Maxim S1s this week. Um, some special situations across the board, some meme stuff, and the midday runners. But you can see the day one gappers and the midday runners are respectively the largest ones, and they're sort of sisters. They're sort of family members, if you will. The D ones and the midday runners. Um, so that's been like when we talk about, there's more dollars at work, and they're in the algo names. Well, you look at these names and you probably recognize them. You probably trade some of them. You've seen the volume buyers. But it's good to see that, like, how helpful really is it to know how much, it's a hot cycle, it's not a hot cycle. Cool. But, to look at it this way, I think opens up a little bit more of a um, frame of reference. Any thoughts, brother?
No, you outlined it perfectly. It's I think this format I like it too because it's all on your head. Okay, that's a D1, that's a midday runner, and maybe we can put dates on it too, like busy days because we talk about it like Mondays are being the
Yeah, you know what? For next week, I'll do that.
yeah,
I'll break it down by days, and I'll probably put volume traded next to each one. Man,
volume
great idea.
traded.
Great idea.
Um,
Yeah.
Beside that, I guess we're gonna go over the on a video of S1, but there were a lot of similarities this week on the S1 trades, CPOP and REBN that they kind of did their own thing. But yeah, I mean the D1s are always I guess the busiest, but this week really they kind of did took over, and there are like some special meme like Newax that high IOs GME is doing its own thing, but no, I think this is a good outlier as far as looking to cycle itself. What's happening?
Right. So to pick up on one thing that you said earlier on there, um, the S ones did behave very very similar, and some of the algo driven day ones behaved very similarly to one another, or in some aspects until a certain point. And so you're noting that similarity across the different ones, really, and that does point to something, like in some of these instances it straight up points to the same player doing the same thing, just bottom line. And in other points, in other instances it shows, just general market psychology, and how it is one day and how it is the next day, not necessarily exactly the hidden hand being the same hidden hand. And those are interesting, and I think that that's part of it's what I find intriguing in how to set up the week each week, by looking at, okay, the dollar traded, all that flash research stuff. Thanks, guys. Um, but also looking at this right here at the categories, and then adding the information that you said that we should add there, which is great. And noting, look, there's a lot of stuff that was similar today, this week, or wasn't, and just from here on out, we'll be able to have a frame of reference every week if this week is more or less than before in this category or that. You know what I mean? We don't know yet, but it seems like a
Yeah,
nice way to start tracking.
yeah. I mean, I guess this week another note, like midday runners were way much weaker than the D ones. Like sometimes, like my ideal midday runner, really like runner, like over 100%. Like you establish yourself as like in your own. I think Arnaz was kind of close. It did its own parabolic, but like PW was also weak. We didn't really have a like midday runner, but D ones were at least there were some sort of strength on them, like pre-market, couple legs maybe in the open, and then we're gonna dive into those. But as far as this week, I think really they ones really took over.
Well, I let me talk about what you said from a different direction. The midday runners were very light on volume for the
Yeah,
most part, and they were also lacking two other things: a hidden hand and follow through. So, if you ask me, if I look at these categories, all these categories, and ask myself which were the best categories this week to be involved with, say, as a small cap short seller, bar none, it's the S1s and the midday runners, because the day ones were, they had the big boy algos on them with, the big dollars to do what they want to do with it. And, that was great if, if you're noticing, that algo behavior for the last 2 weeks since CTMX day one was really the day that started this. If you notice it since then and you've been like participating along, great. If you're fighting it short, then other dudes are looking at the midday runners and the S1s, and they're just getting it out the park, and you're like fighting over here with the D1s. You know what I mean? So this is what I think about when I say, oh, let's look at it from this. Let's start looking at the week like this and really see, what's where. But there was just no hidden hand in the midday runners. And so you're saying, oh, well, they didn't run a lot. They didn't really establish themselves. And I'm like, yeah, that's a complaint for the longs that want to play midday runners. but it creates the perfect conditions for the shorts. It just doesn't suck up attention. It doesn't ring a lot of people's alerts, and so it just stays sort of hidden, but super sweet for on the short side.
Okay, all right. Well, right now, I guess we can wrap it up on a like as far as explaining the cycles. I kind of have my questions for them on their own. They ones as ones for the midday runners. We can go into the deep dive of those if you want.
All right, so let's call it here, and let's see all in the individual category videos. And we're not going to do for all. We can't do for all of these, but we'll do for a few of
Yeah,
them.
we do day one S1 and midday runners.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Later.